Let's talk some football as FanDuel has set the over-under in regular season wins, and I think it's bizarrely stupid. I don't know if bizarrely is a word, but I just made it one. So let's go ahead and get to that right now. FanDuel 8.5 wins for the Vols in the regular season.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
What the H today brought to you by Craft Treats. Go to crafttreats.com. If your dog's saying, what the H, I have anxiety, I have arthritis, I have digestive issues, I need chill pills, then go to crafttreats.com. Use the promo code OFFTHEHOOK. The promo code OFFTHEHOOK and get 20% off the chill pills with CBD or other fantastic holistic pet treats for your dog and or cat. So now I have both, and I swore I'd never have either. All right, here we go. FanDuel sets the Vols over under regular season wins at 8.5. Let's dial this back a second. Off the Hook Sports, about this time last year, I saw the over under for Tennessee heading into the 2022 season at 7.5. Now it moved to about 8. I think in some places it moved to 8.5. But I said at the time that I thought that was the easiest over under bet in the entire SEC. And second behind that, Alabama was 10.5. I had the over. Now this was overall wins, not just regular season. And then I had Auburn the under. I believe they were 6.5. I thought those were 3 pretty good locks, but I had Tennessee at number 1. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, I've got Tennessee at 9 wins pretty easily. Caleb, I'm surprised by this number. I thought it would have been 9 or 9.5. I'm not the gambling guy. You are, but I would jump all over this number if I cared to throw money at things like that.
Oh, I would too. I thought it was going to be set at 9.5. The minute they set it at 8.5, I'm thinking we've gone through Tennessee's schedule many times. How are they not going to get 9 wins? I mean, Alabama, Georgia. Okay, you got those two. But you would have to assume that they're going to lose to Kentucky and Florida after that, which I think they're winning one of those games. They're not losing to South Carolina. And so I don't know. Those are the only 5 teams that you even would consider worth even talking about. The other are circled 7 wins, and I think South Carolina is a circled 8 win. So you have to think that they're going to lose all 4 of their, should we say, toss-up games.
No, so let's go through the schedule quickly before we get to the fan response on Twitter. I posted that question earlier this morning as far as regular season wins. So Virginia opens the season, you'd have to think a win right now. Yep. Austin P, a win, that's 2. At Florida, let's call that a swing game for funsies, okay? Yep. University of Texas San Antonio, the following week, that would be 3. They're not going to lose to South Carolina. That's at home. That's a revenge game. So I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm at 4 wins. Texas A&M, that is at home. I'm not a Bobby Petrino believer. That feels like a team where morale is down. That feels like a team where Jimbo Fisher is headed out. And Tennessee has been that type of program before. Those type of programs typically don't do well on the road. So I've got Tennessee. That you could call that a swing game if you want, but I've got Tennessee.
No, you can't. I'm more bullish on it than you are. Okay. I think Tennessee blows out Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is in for a complete catastrophe this year. And also Tennessee's playing them off a bye.
I totally agree. I wasn't going to be as strong there, but yes, I agree. It feels like a program that is just waiting for its coach to exit. And I wonder the type of loyalty and the type of gumption that those players have behind Jimbo Fisher, who's been a complete disaster at College Station. So at Alabama, clearly with what we saw last year, there's no absolute losses, but I think Alabama will have a revenge game against Tennessee, and it is in Tuscaloosa. Then you have at Kentucky. Yeah, Kentucky was very average with Will Levis last year, and I know that he was injured for much of the year, but But if you want to call that a swing game, you can. And then UConn's a win. At Missouri, I believe, is a win. Georgia, you would have to say, is a likely loss, even though it's at Tennessee. But they don't have Stetson Bennett. They're going to have to replace another significant group of athletes, just like they did last year. And then you have Vanderbilt. So if you want to call the two losses, Alabama and Georgia, okay, I can roll with that. I think Tennessee is going to be in both of those games, but I'm struggling to find another surefire loss. And as far as the swing games, which I would consider Florida, Kentucky, I think Tennessee will be favored, even though they're on the road in both of those games. So 8.5 seems very doable if they win one of those swing games. That they would be what if they win one of those swing games between Florida and Kentucky, then you're right at you would be right at 9 or 8 or 9. So
You'd be right at 9. Yeah.
yeah. So and again, I think they're going to play Georgia much better than they did last year. Alabama, we'll see. That's on the road, but I mean, I just see 8.5 is very doable.
I think 10-2 is more likely than 8-4. Honestly, if you ask me.
If you had to choose between the two, 10-2, 8-4. If I had to pick between the two, I would take 10-2.
Yeah, I would too. I think 10-2 is much more likely, and so I agree. 8.5 is low. I hope a lot of people took out money. I haven't checked to see if they've moved the line this morning, because they might have. Because my guess is a lot of people put some money on that 8.5 yesterday on Tennessee hitting the over.
Yeah, Tennessee is one of those schools that will move the line because there's a lot of gambling on Tennessee's side. So if you want in on that line, I would jump on it now. And I thought that last year was the easiest pick among the SEC teams. Here's what surprises me a little bit, Caleb, to be frank with you, is if Tennessee was overlooked and undervalued last year, I get it. You're coming off the first year of Josh Heupel, and they didn't end the season well in their bowl game, but suddenly you're a bona fide team, aren't you? I mean, you were knocking on the door of the college football playoff. I don't understand why they're undervalued heading into this season.
Yeah,
quarterback, is it as simple as that?
No, I'm with you. I think this is they're seeing what me and you have somewhat said, which is they don't believe that the Joe Milton we saw against Clemson is the Joe Milton that we're going to see all year. And I could roll with that. I could roll with that theory, but I think even if that's the case, I still don't see Tennessee going any worse than 9-3. Even if Joe Milton is the Joe Milton that got benched, I think that Joe Milton could take this Tennessee team 9-3 this year.
I do too. They build big buildings in Vegas based off this. So I'm really trying to figure out what I'm missing, but I don't think I'm missing anything. I think 10-2 is more likely than 8-4. I think 9's pretty much a lock. So if you want to jump on that, go for it. Again, I don't gamble because I've been taught not to gamble by losing. But if you're going to jump on that, do it now, because I think that'll end up moving. I wouldn't be surprised if that moved to 9.5 at some point, frankly. So, all right, here we go. So as far as our Twitter poll question, which is that I asked the question based off FanDuel at 8.5 regular season wins, 8, 9, 10, or 11 and 12. Okay, so 11 and 12 wins are all under the same category. So 16% said 8. It's a catch-up season. 44% said 9 balls are simply good. 16% said 10, roll it again. And then 22% said 11 and 12. That would be a heck of a season if Tennessee were able to win 11 regular season games. You would think they would have a great opportunity to be in a college football playoff. Whether or not they would be in the SEC championship game, you could even lose to Georgia, and as we saw last year, make the college football playoff. Tennessee would have done that had it not been for the loss to South Carolina. So, yeah, I think the Tennessee's fans are reasonable, but 44%. And then if you want to add together the 10, 11, and 12, you're looking at about 80% that believe Tennessee wins 9 or more. So again, it's a Tennessee fan base on my Twitter feed, but it seems to be a consensus for the most part among Tennessee fans that they'll win at least 9 games this season. And if they just won 8 in the regular season, it would be a disappointment. It would be a punch to the gut, Caleb, no question.
Oh, absolutely. It'd be a huge one. I think they have more than enough firepower to get 9 wins. And look, if they get 11 or 12 wins, okay, you think Josh Heupel got a nice little contract extension last year or this past all season? He's getting a huge one then, because that would more than prove that it's just Josh Heupel and he can mix and match anybody that comes into the system.
You're right. If he's able to do that with either a Joe Milton, who has struggled with accuracy at times, or a Nico, and if you're able to win 9, 10, 11 games this season with that quarterback situation, you would have to say it's that Heupel guy. Period. End of discussion. Flatline said, will Caleb shave his eyebrows when the Vols beat Duke? I don't know.
Oh, I know. How can you tell on this camera?
What? I think your eyebrows look great. I don't know what he's talking about.
They got a little wavy spots, but
Oh, okay.
I thought the camera, I didn't think they were caught on the camera. So
Travis will take the over. And Travis says half Georgia's team will be in jail. Could be. Boy, they do not like us, by the way, if you go to our YouTube page. Nick says Alabama doesn't have a quarterback. Neither Jaden Milroe or Ty Simpson scares me the way Bryce Young did. Amen. Bryce Young accounted for at least 2 wins in Alabama's season last year. That team was not very good other than Bryce Young.
Don't undersell Ty Simpson, though. Yeah,
I would agree with that.
Really good.
You can undersell Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, you can. If Jalen Milroe is starting, that's because that's another piece of evidence that Nick Saban has no idea how to manage quarterbacks, which I've always said he doesn't. But
Nick's saying breaking in 2 new coordinators. That's true. And then Mr. Jones has 15 wins. Okay. Let's chill out. New quarterback. Joe Milton in year 3 of Heupel's system can be a Heisman finalist and a top 10 draft pick. I will share this with you. Talking to somebody in Tennessee's football program. You know the biggest motivating factor for Joe Milton right now?
The disrespect he's getting?
It's a dude named Anthony Richardson.
Oh.
Look, Travis beat me to it. He put Anthony Richardson. So if Anthony Richardson can be a top 10 pick, and I wouldn't take him with a top 10 pick, but if he can, based off his combine numbers, and Caleb, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that Joe Milton thinks he can be a top 10 pick because he's going to do everything that Anthony Richardson did at the combine. And he's going to throw it farther, and he's going to do all the measurable numbers. If he can get through this season even half as successfully as Hendon Hooker, I can't believe I'm saying this, but that's a big if. Then Joe Milton's going to go to the combine and blow it up, and he's going to be a top 10 pick.
I could actually see that. I could easily see that. You're right. Because I still don't get how Anthony Richardson got there. And I'm going to say this up front. I think it's ridiculous that scouts overvalue the combine for quarterbacks. I mean, I've watched enough football.
Yes.
I said this 17 years ago when Jamarcus Russell threw 80 yards on his knees. And I was like, I don't care. I watched enough Jamarcus Russell in college to know that he's going to be a bust in the NFL. I thought he was an awful quarterback at LSU.
No, I'm with you. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I would take Bryce Young over all the quarterbacks out there, Levis, Richardson, that have been combine warriors. I would take Bryce Young over all of them. I don't care if he's small inside of frame. If he ends up getting injured and his career's derailed because of that, at least I know in my heart of hearts I took the gamer, and I think he's a gamer. I don't think Richardson or Will Levis are gamers. Joe Milton might be. I'm not saying that I agree with that, taking Richardson or Milton in the top 10 based off measurables at the combine, but I think it could happen.
Yeah, I agree. And that, intangibles are I think this is coaches' arrogance. There was a period where coaches finally started to say, we got to start thinking about quarterback intangibles. Hence the reason Tyler Bray didn't get drafted in 2011. Low intangibles. But I think now there's this new, with the Sean McVay, Cliff Kingsbury era, even though Cliff Kingsbury got fired, there's this new wave of coaches of, well, I'm the genius of the coach. So as long as they fit the measurables, I can coach them to do this. Even though the truth of the matter is the quarterback still has to have intangibles. Tyler Bray would have been a top 10 pick if he were in the draft this year.
Top 10? I'll give you first round.
His arm was insane.
He's got a whip. I'm not going to argue that. I'll give you first round. I don't know about top 10.
That arm, that size and arm, that's a coach's dream. Now, the only thing is his lack of mobility. But and nowadays, coaches want a little more mobility in the NFL.
It's a bit of a side armor guy, which is more acceptable than it used to be. But I don't know that I could go top 10. But I would go first round with the right coaching.